Hi Elliot, it is August 12th and I'm standing in my green type hemp nursery, and I want to show you two things that are important to me at this time of year. One I just call stacking, which has to do with grouping of inflorescences toward the top of the plant so that we get nice dense inflorescence but not too dense, and I'll show you what's going on there. And the second has to do with the percent of male flowers, or the proportion of male flowers that are appearing on female monoecious plants. So you remember, monoecious plants are those that have both male and female flowers. And what I'm seeing in the nursery is a difference among plants for what proportion of the flowers on that plant are male. And that might make a difference, but really I'm showing it to you, but also looking at it pretty closely myself to see it should be something I should select either for or against. But anyway, let me start with stacking, and I'm going to give you just a visual that shows you a little bit of difference. Now, I've got, with the sun here, I'm getting some contrast between here we see the apical parts of these hemp plants are kind of dark, and you're starting to see what looks like clusters of flowers at the top of the plant in this particular row. So you may remember a row is a half-sib family. They all come from one female. And again, the darn sun went behind a cloud just at the wrong time. But you might be able to see in this row, which comes from a different female, different half-sib family, it's very sparse looking. It doesn't have that clustering at the top. So let me show you quickly what's going on. I've got to find the row that had the example I want. The reason I'm showing you this plant is that it kind of shows you the structure of how a hemp plant is put together with its flowering. So we have a node, and then we have this inflorescence structure here, the rachis. There's a rachis stem-like part from which different clusters of flowers come. And you can see on, I don't know how many flowers there, it's lots, but it's only about a 1-inch rachis of flowers here. And we've got a fairly long internode between this cluster of flowers and this cluster of flowers. So internodes are places where leaves and these flower clusters are attached. So internodes and nodes. So internodes and nodes. And so anyway, only about 1 inch. You can see, I'll just take the next plant, these clusters over time grow. So this one's short, maybe it emerged a little bit later. They get bigger too, and bigger yet. I don't know if you can see this one. So this is 1.5 inches or so. And eventually what happens is the combination of long clusters and short internodes gives you a sense that we have what I call stacking, or almost complete flowers all the way up the apex of the stem. If you talk to the drug people or look at any of their pictures, they love showing off what they call the colas, K-O-L-A, colas on their plants. And the colas are just the apical part of the plant with tremendously heavily stacked inflorescences. The reason that I care about stacking is that where there are flowers, there are seeds, and this is a grain type nursery. So if I want a good grain type plant, I need to have a lot of flowers, and I like them clustered at the top of the plant, because unlike this nursery where the plants are spaced so widely so that I can get through the rows and see them, you know that the trials are really dense and they don't branch, and the only flowering really happens at the top of the plant, and I want that filled with flowers. So it's important to me to have good stacking, but it can go to an extreme. And again, you can see that when you look at the drug folks, where they have selected so intensely for heavy stacking and these big showboat sort of colas that look good in pictures, that particularly in grow room situations where you don't have good air movement, you can get mold, fungi primarily, that get into those inflorescences, and it's nice and moist, and the fungi go wild and can wipe out a crop. So it's not the best thing, and it's even a problem in some of the green nurseries. We have a variety that's in the trials, a commercial variety, where mold is a bit of a problem because it's so dense. And you get the yield, but if you get the mold, then you don't get the yield. So I'm looking for kind of the middle road where I get good stacking, but not to the extent that I have problems. So just as an example, I'll come over here and show you that first, one of those first rows again. Well, here's an example here of a half sib family where I've got some really nice stacking. So this is a very nice looking plant. It's got hardly any branches, which is good. I don't want branches when we put them into those really tight populations. And you can see here we've got just this really nice apical part of the stem that's covered with inflorescences that overlap, nice long buds. It's the same architecture we saw before, these buds, short internodes, and we get lots of seeds off those plants. And you can see it's in this nursery, there are lots of these plants that are showing that characteristic. And there better be, because I've been spending 5 years trying to get them that way. The weird thing is, a week ago when I came back from my vacation, I was in here, and I really came away depressed because all the plants looked more like this sort of sparseness. And I thought, holy cow, am I in the fiber nursery? Because fiber plants, you don't worry that much about the amount of seed, but you do about nice long stems. And I was kind of depressed, and then I remembered, you know, all you have to do is turn around and hemp changes. And so a week later, so this is just about a week since I came out here and was depressed about the plants, all of a sudden I'm seeing stacking. So the plants now, we're in mid-August, mid-ish August, they're going to be just pounding the flowers on the plants and pounding carbohydrates into the seeds. This is the seed filling period where all the yield's made. So even 2 weeks from now, I'll show you these same plants, and some of them are going to look like they have baseball bats at the top. I hope, because that's kind of what I'm shooting for. All right, so that's stacking. Let me show you also these male inflorescences. And so where am I going to start on that? Now, this is a nursery that is supposed to be all monoecious types, but they differ in the amount of maleness. So these are all female flowers. You can't really tell except that you see seeds forming. So those are all female flowers. The flowers continue to grow from the tip, so it's continuing to flower. It's indeterminate, as I was mentioning before. Down here, if you can see between my index finger and thumb, is a cluster of male flowers. It's right in one of the nodes. If you go down to the next node, there's another cluster of male flowers. But you'll notice on this plant, there are no male flowers on these branches that are holding the buds, the female buds. So this would be something that I would rank as having a fairly low proportion of male to female flowers. And maybe this is enough. If I had a field of only this, I still need pollen from those flowers in order to get seed set. But frankly, I don't know how much I need. That's why I'm in a quandary as to how much there should be. This, by the way, this is a male plant. We still get male plants even in these rows. This would be genetically male. And you can see, interestingly enough, it's starting to shut down in yellow. They always mature earlier than the females because they're no longer needed, and the females have to spend a lot of time out in the sun pounding the carbs to the seeds that they've set. Now, I know that along here somewhere I've got a plant that is really quite unique in the amount of female on it. So that wasn't the row I wanted, so you know, of course I choreographed all this so I'd be able to show it to you real easily. Oh, here's one, for instance. So here is a plant that is starting. You can see that it is starting to stack, we have those inch and a half inflorescences. If you look at the bottom of each inflorescence, you see male flowers. So there's some here, some here, some here, some here. And we also have these big clusters of flowers, of male flowers, right at the node. So this is maybe, if I were rating it, I'd give it a 2 rather than a 1, because it's not just flowers at the node, but they're right in the clusters in the inflorescences. Sorry, I haven't talked much lately, so the words aren't coming real easily. Now I'm going to turn this off briefly so that I can find better examples, and I'll punch back in. Well, try as I might, I can't find that darn plant that I was going to show you for sure. So I've got another one here, maybe 2. And here's an example of a really nice big cluster of male flowers. And on this plant, you have clusters, they're really at every node. They don't, you get some that are right on the rachis of the inflorescence, and down here as well. So this is an example of a pretty heavy duty male. It's not 50%, but there's just a lot of male in that plant. There's another one down here. I think I made a mark in the ground. See if I can find it here. Where are you? All right, looking at a mark in the ground here. So we have an example of a plant on the other side. If I can bend it down. That has even more male flowers. Maybe this is the one I was looking for, but you take a look at that. It's pretty sparse as far as the female flowers right now, but the male flowers, just tons of them. But this is a genetically female plant. So what to do with these? I'm thinking what I might end up doing is at least identifying them, tagging them, and then putting some sort of a numerical rating on it, because it's hard to tell in the fall exactly what you've got. Now I can tell, but in the fall, maybe not. So if I can at least mark them, and I just put a fluorescent ribbon on them, and I'll put a number on the fluorescent ribbon, 1, 2, 3 maybe, keep it simple, and that way I'll know. By that time I'll have talked to enough people and got some additional ideas about which ones I might want to keep. So anyway, that's it for now. We took a look at stacking, which is important this time of year, and we looked at the inflorescences. I hope you're feeling good, and I look forward to showing you even more as this nursery progresses. So bye for now, Elliot. Well, Elliot, this is kind of a postscript. I'm over in the fiber nursery now, and so we're getting all these tall plants, you can see, and they're kind of wispy and they don't have stacking or anything like that. So that's the way the fibers run. But look at this plant. This plant is genetically female. All these clusters are all male flowers. And just at the tips here, you can see between my index and thumb, that's female flowers. So at the base of that rachis, you have male, and at the tip, you just have those female flowers. This is a crazy plant as far as its reproductive strategy. It's mostly male. Gotta say, it's at least 50%, and just the female at the tips. I don't know. That would be okay actually for fiber, because who cares? All you need to do is get your seed back so you can plant a crop. But that's nuts, isn't it?